University of Sydney law professor David Walsh explained, that may mean anyone who runs a social media page can theoretically be sued over disparaging comments posted by readers or random group members, even if you aren't aware of the comments. Which, as a commentator in the news space, is horrifying to me. Right? As far as the incident that led to this ruling, it actually happened back in 2016. Multiple news outlets posted disturbing photos of a teen by the name of Baller being restrained in a detention center. That cover led to inquiries about conditions and such. Senators who later saw Baller suing several outlets. Allegedly, the Facebook users were making defamatory comments on their posts, and that by inviting these comments, outlets were acting as publishers. And so now what we're seeing is the High Court siding with Baller to an extent, agreeing that media companies are in fact publishers of third-party Facebook comments and can be legally responsible for their content. However, specifically to this story, it didn't actually make a decision on whether or not the comments Baller cited were defamatory. So from here, Baller is actually going to have to try to prove that claim. For now, it seems like Congress are going to have to make a tough decision on how to get to this new ruling. For example, one, you can carry on like normal the risk. They can moderate comments, though, they can still possibly miss comments, they choose to do that. It will also be incredibly time intensive depending on the number of comments. Or three, you can do the nuclear option, which is remove all comments. And on top of all of this, there appears that this ruling could affect everyday users as well, since they could also quote be held liable as publishers where they post material to their Facebook pages and encourage engagement. So with this story, I want to know, does this ruling make sense to you? Do you see this as accountability online or no? Is it wrong to, as a one Gizmodo writer put it, hold users responsible for the content of complete strangers? Personally, I'm doing this over to our legal team to figure out what the hell we should do if there are any internet limitations here without hate comments. So yeah, for a number of reasons, I'll be keeping my eyes on this story. And yeah, let me know what you think. From that, I want to take a second to thank fantastic sponsor of today's show, NordVPN.com/show. Now, if you're a long-time viewer, you know that I spent the last few years telling you about NordVPN and the many reasons why you should be using it. With NordVPN, all your internet data is protected behind a wall of next-generation encryption, and NordVPN servers are ultra-fast, so there's no sacrificing speed for security. NordVPN, as you beautiful bastards know from those bathroom shows, my family and I just recently did, and I mean, that's a fantastic example of where I use Nord. It's at the airport, and we're not taking a chance with my phone on a public server. The same goes for when I was making that show from the bathroom of the hotel. With Nord, I'm always protected. With their strict no logs policy, they don't track, collect, or share your private data. Make NordVPN a part of your online security plan. Head on over to NordVPN.com/Bill right now. Get a huge discount on the plan. Plus, you get a bonus gift for 4 additional months free when you sign up today. And it's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. What are you waiting for? Go to NordVPN.com/Bill. And we're definitely talking about Texas Governor Greg Abbott in the news. Right now, we're going to get a ton of backlash for defending the state's new law to ban abortion after 6 weeks, which, of course, is before many people even know that they're pregnant, and he's specifically being hit for his defense of the fact that it does not provide exceptions for rape or incest. So most of this stemming from a press conference yesterday, we saw how to respond to this reporter's question.
What towards a rape or incest victim to carry a pregnancy to term?
It doesn't require that at all because obviously it provides at least 6 weeks for a person to be able to get an abortion. So for one, it doesn't provide that. That said, however, let's make something very clear. Rape is a crime, and Texas will work tirelessly to make sure that we eliminate all rapists from the streets of Texas by aggressively going out and arresting them and prosecuting them and getting them off the streets.
And so, unsurprisingly, Abbott was met with a ton of criticism. Some people taking aim at what a kind comment is, including the likes of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who called Abbott's comments disgusting in this now viral clip.
I don't know if he is familiar with a menstruating person's body. In fact, I do know that he's not familiar with a woman, with a female or a menstruating person's body, because if he did, he would know that you don't have 6 weeks. But in case no one has informed him before in his life, 6 weeks pregnant means 2 weeks late for your period. And 2 weeks late on your period for any person with a menstrual cycle can happen if you're stressed, if your diet changes, or for really no reason at all.
And that was echoed by a lot of other people who pointed to a figure given by Planned Parenthood that found 85 to 90% of people who obtain abortions in Texas are at least 6 weeks into their pregnancy. Also with this, we had people taking aim at Abbott's claim that he was going to, quote, eliminate all rapists. For people in general saying, what the fuck are you talking about? You're talking about prosecuting people after they commit rape. Senator Abbott literally can't eliminate all of them unless, one, it turns out that all rapes have been perpetrated by Governor Abbott, and he decided to stop with. Two, Abbott in secret has developed a minority report program where they're able to find future crimes. Right? In general, we saw people piling on, pointing out how ignorant the remarks are. I mean, it's a horrible stat. According to data from the Justice Department analyzed by the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, just 1 out of every 3 rapes and sexual assaults are reported. Beyond that, that out of every 1,000 assaults, just 50 lead to arrest, and only 25 are incarcerated, meaning that more than 97% of people who commit assault walk free. There's also something else that AOC hit on.
The majority of people who are raped and who are sexually assaulted are assaulted by someone that they know. And these aren't just predators that are walking around the streets at night. They are people's uncles, they are teachers, they are family friends. And when something like that happens, it takes a very long time, first of all, for any victim to come forward. And second of all, when a victim comes forward, they don't necessarily want to bring their case into the carceral system.
I think that's one of the key things with this law. Yes, I know a lot of people have opinions that are black and white regarding abortion in general, a plain yes or a plain no. I think the fact that this Texas law so specifically abandons and even targets victims. I think that's why Abbott and supporters of this bill are maybe getting a lot more heat than they expected. And of course, the weaponization of your neighbors, the tip line, all that stuff. But with this story in general, I would love to know your thoughts. Do you think Abbott's defense here is valid or no? He's talking about that. Why not? Any and all thoughts, let me know. Also, in related international news, if you look to Mexico making abortion headlines this week as well. The Mexico Supreme Court unanimously voted in 10-0 to strike down a series of laws from Coahuila state that sought to effectively criminalize having an abortion with 3 years in prison. This is Norma Pena Hernandez saying that according to a secular state, the defense and autonomy of the privacy of women must be unconditional according to her life plan and presume that her decision is rational, deliberate, and autonomous. Well, the president of the court approaching the topic from a different angle, writing that the criminalization of abortion punishes the poorest women, the most marginalized, the forgotten, and most discriminated against in the country. It's a crime that in its nature punishes poverty. And in general, the ruling has been celebrated. Mexico is a major win for women's rights and means that abortion before 12 weeks cannot be criminalized. So, of note, this may actually be a shallow victory because before the ruling, only 3 Mexican states and Mexico City explicitly allowed abortion. While Tuesday's ruling does technically apply to the whole nation, it does require legal challenges in the remaining 28 states for them to go into effect locally, which will take time. Otherwise, it would require changes in state law by local legislatures, and that would actually be a huge challenge. And I say that because after Mexico City passed an ordinance in 2007 that allowed abortion, which the Supreme Court found constitutional, over half the states passed laws explicitly stating that life began at conception. At least now, for supporters, there is a roadmap for legalization despite state law. Also, to bring it back home a bit, because we're the United States and everything needs to be about us, this entire ruling may actually also provide relief to some Texans. Because if you look at a map, Coahuila is just across the U.S. border, giving Texans another place to seek abortions. And hey, well, yes, someone could go to other U.S. states. Medical tourism in Mexico is absolutely huge. And it's not uncommon for people in border states to make the trip down south to seek medical care. Ultimately, with this story, or really anything else stood out to you today, I'd love to know your thoughts in those comments down below, because yes, this is a news show, but it's also a conversation. Yeah, with that said, thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, joining the family, and of course, my name is Franco. You just been filled in. I love yellow faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.
We've talked, of course, about the recent completely unconstitutional law forced through by the Texas legislature, essentially outlawing abortions past 6 weeks, deputizing citizens on $1,000 bounty to sue people who not only get abortions, but assist people who get abortions, which is wildly insane and objectively unconstitutional. And the Supreme Court did not hear out and decide a ruling on it before their session adjourned, which means that Texans just have to deal with it for a while. But in spite of all that terrible nonsense, something kind of neat did happen. Please ignore this terribly Libby message. This is actually something that got sent out by Lyft, the Uber-esque company. Dear Lyft riders and drivers, a new Texas law, SB 8, threatens to punish drivers for getting people to where they need to go to, specifically women exercising their right to choose and access health care they need. We want to be clear, drivers are never responsible for monitoring where their riders go or why. Imagine being a driver and not knowing if you're breaking the law by giving somebody a ride. Yeah, look at that. That's kind of terrifying, right? Imagine if you're a Lyft driver and then later you get a lawsuit because it turns up somebody implicates you in a person who got a pregnancy because you really want to know them like near there, like that is wild. Similarly, riders never have to justify or even share where they're going to and why. Well, they have to share the address they want to instead. Imagine being a pregnant woman trying to get to a healthcare appointment and not knowing if your driver will cancel on you for fear of breaking the law. Both are completely unacceptable. Very valid points here. Look, this law is incompatible with people's basic rights to privacy, our community guidelines, spirit of rideshare, and our values as a company. We're taking action on two fronts. One, Lyft has created a driver legal defense fund to cover 100% of legal fees for drivers sued under SB 8 while driving on our platform. Riders and drivers, nothing about how you drive, ride, or interact with each other should change. And two, Texas SB 8 is an attack on women's right to choose. Lyft has donated $1 million to Planned Parenthood to help ensure that transportation is never a barrier to healthcare access. Wonderful message there. A reminder to anyone who sees this that on the 10th of September at noon PDT, I'm going to be doing a 24-hour live stream to raise money for Planned Parenthood. So that, will contribute. I don't know if we'll be able to beat Lyft's 1 million. I don't expect that to happen. However, if that did happen, that would be wild. And that way it's a win-win, You guys get many hours of GameCube gameplay. Planned Parenthood gets lots of money, and I get the satisfaction of feeling like I beat out a major company. We can only agree. If you feel compelled to join us as an individual, you can make a donation here. And then, of course, you've got the Lyft aristocracy right there down at the bottom. So, a couple of points here, all right? I want to acknowledge the good and the bad. The bad is not present. However, it should be worth pointing out because a lot of lefties, they're going to get defensive over this. But I think it's important to acknowledge these facts. What Lyft is doing here is primarily motivated by its business interests. By getting out ahead of this, by looking woke and socially conscious and what have you, they're getting free, not necessarily free, but relatively cheap publicity for themselves. That's something companies do. That's always going to be something companies do. That is just how life works. I don't have a problem with companies doing good things when the good things also benefit them PR-wise. I don't care that much. It's worth pointing out that they're doing it cynically, but at the same time, it's still a good thing. We should be happy about that. Additionally, it's impossible to know the exact proportion of this that's purely self-interested as opposed to philanthropic in nature. It is worth pointing out that a lot of this is probably also fronting a sort of consistent legal defense for the basic rights of rideshare for both Lyft and other companies in its field in the future. I don't think Lyft is a specifically socially conscious company, so it seems to me like a lot of this is primarily motivated not just by PR, but also an attempt to legally defend the principles that allow rideshare companies to exist. And they're also insulating themselves against the potential bad PR of the misbehavior of their drivers if their drivers ever do, in fact, cancel an appointment because it's an abortion clinic or anything like that. With all of that being said, these are just components, part and parcel, of businesses. This is just how business works, folks. Businesses act in their own self-interest, along with, I guess, most every other social institution. So we shouldn't be too surprised by that. Overall, though, I think this is a really good thing, and I think this is a positive example of rainbow capitalism. It is very nice to know that even in states where people are being besieged by unconstitutional legislating from Christian fundamentalists, corporations monetarily benefit from providing support to people in that area. Even if it's a PR stunt, it is still support, and I think that's a good thing. All institutions are motivated, at least in part, by self-preservation or self-betterment. So, with that in mind, if it's in the best interest of companies to come out in support of progressive causes, that's a good thing. Or to put it another way, how would you guys feel if Lyft had cynically done the opposite thing? Imagine if Lyft thought it was in their business interest to side with the Christian fundamentalists, so they were like, yeah, from now on, drivers have the right to ban anyone if it seems that they're going to a pregnancy clinic, and if it's found out that you used our service to get to an abortion, we will sue you. Like, that would probably be worse. Yeah, we will be incentivizing our drivers to find out if anyone is using their service to get an abortion. Yeah, we will drive you to the chair. That would probably be a little bit worse, you know. That'd be a so if rainbow capitalism, you know, work in our favor, then just keep in mind it could be what would you call it? Christian fundamentalist capitalism? I don't know. There is a worse alternative. It can always get worse. God. Anyway, I guess good on the folks at Lyft for doing a good thing for whatever reason. There we go. How do we like that? Do we feel enriched and enlightened? No, Uber is doing this too. Oh, I was just showcasing the behavior. I feel like Uber kind of has to, you know, like after Lyft goes ahead with that. Like imagine Lyft doing this and Uber's like, eh. Here, unemployment benefits are expiring for over 7.5 million Americans. Hey, guys, happy Labor Day weekend. We're get back to work. Here it is.
Night unemployment benefits are over for 7.5 million Americans. Another
Jobs going online. School term self-pause. Yeah, we have a baby now. I don't think we'll. There's a stuff
3
in.
million will see their weekly checks cut by $300. It comes as hiring slowed in August, likely due to the surge of the Delta variant. Brooke Whitford delivered groceries when the pandemic started. She scaled back her hours over COVID concerns and a drop in wages. She's been on unemployment since April of last year. Knowing that this date was coming up, what's something like please?
Stressful. The one word I can say, stressful. Put me in kind of a slump, kind of a depression.
Whitford says she's applied for over 150 jobs in the last 3 months, but so far, no offers.
I don't meet the criteria, or they've already hired somebody.
For every 8 people who lost their unemployment benefits in June, only one found a new job. Reasons include the lack of childcare and the growing mismatch between the jobs available and people looking for work.
We've never cut off benefits for this many people all in one fell swoop. Unemployment comes fast. To find a job often takes a lot of time.
But with a record 10 million jobs now available, many business owners like Joseph terminates before the end of benefits helps them find much needed workers. The bakery owner has a record.
Like, what a cheery way of describing cutting off funds from people that were using said funds to survive. Like, oh, this will help the business owners find workers. It's like the other side of that is literally like we are starving out the working class because we can't get business owners to increase their wages. Okay? That's basically what this entire process has been about since the beginning. And I've said this a million times over, folks. I said this when we eradicated poverty for like a month during the pandemic, if you guys remember. We pumped everybody with funds. The unemployment insurance on top of it, the $300 a week on top of it was really good. It was better than most countries on the planet. It was the one time that the American welfare state actually dished out goddamn welfare. Okay? For the first time ever. America did something that other social democracies do regularly. For a brief moment during this pandemic. Okay? And of course, cutting UI has not led to filling positions, or at least a growth in earnings at all. In the 26 states that cut unemployment insurance ahead of time at the behest of the Chamber of Commerce, we didn't actually see an increase in earnings. Okay?
the increases in jobs filled have been marginal in comparison to states that have not cut unemployment insurance, the additional benefits that we're talking about. So this was all for nothing. And even then, the horrifying reality is that capital owners literally openly stated their disdain for the working class for the past year. How many times did I talk about this where they kept saying, cut this shit out, you need to starve them like hungry dogs for them to come crawling back to the job availabilities that we have for them because we refuse to increase the wages or create a better work environment or offer better benefits.
Studies are done to see more applicants.
I wouldn't call it a flood. I would say it was more of a trickle. But yes, we did see an uptick in people that were interested.
Tom, nearly $800 billion was spent on federal pandemic unemployment. People use that money for rent, medication, food. Now what we're watching for is how long will it take for people to get jobs? How will they get by without that money? And how will that impact consumer spending?
Great. Really not. Where are they? Restaurant owners last end silence amid staffing shortages. Where are they? Where are the Democrats? I thought these guys hated government interference. They only like government interference when it benefits the fucking capital owners, huh? I mean, listen. The government always interferes. There's no such thing as like a truly free market. It's the same concept as like unicorns, okay? It doesn't exist in reality. There's never been a singular market that is devoid of even a fraction of government interference, okay? Yes, the Easter Bunny, unicorn, Santa Claus, these are things that are total fabrications, much like the free market that is truly free. So, it's not the government interference that they fucking hate, it's that the government is interfering against their interests, which happens to be on the interest of the working class, because there was a bearded man 200 fucking years ago that very adequately described the inherent contradiction amongst the two competing classes that are diametrically opposed with respect to their takeaways and their interests under a capitalist organization of the economy. There is no better representation of this theory than what you are seeing before you. The business owners, who are capital owners, freaking the absolute fuck out and saying, cut the fucking faucet, okay? Turn the faucet off. Stop giving them money. Stop. Stop giving them money. They literally have too much money and can survive, so they don't want to come back to these fucking shitty work conditions that we are offering them. It created conditions that had to have happened organically if there was actually a supply and demand curve that existed for a tight labor market for the past fucking 10 years. We had near full employment at a certain point before COVID. And yet for some reason, we never got, for some weird reason, we never fucking reached the benefits of a tight labor market, like an increase in wages. For non-NA, what's the minimum wage? $7.25 an hour. It's not that people do not want to work, it's that people do not want to work the shit jobs that we offer to everyone for shit pay. Exactly. Now, there is another contradiction in the way that this market works. And that is, and I talked about this already, that is that we are primarily a consumer base. That is our most important function. Okay? In the United States of America, we are consumers first and foremost. We're not a productive nation anymore. We are no longer a producer. We are a consumer. We have a fat fucking market that everyone needs to take advantage of, that everyone wants to sell products to. And that's precisely why I said they were, even in the beginning, before the unemployment insurance was offered to people, and before like all the benefits came in, I said that there was going to be benefits because otherwise it would be fucking, causing even further economic chaos. And guess what? When the unemployment state benefits expired, look at that. Our fucking spending also fell off a cliff. Earnings are still relatively stable, and yet unemployment benefits are keeping proofing, and so is spending. So what these fucking dumbasses are doing, so that they can win over, so that they can get back to a situation where there are starving, poor, working class individuals, is cucking themselves. What you are advocating for is basically a poorer consumer base that will no longer be able to purchase your product. I just want to point to something else here too, and that is this. Let's take a look at how many people have COVID right now in the United States of America. Let's see where we were at on this graph last year. This is September. 7-day average is 132,000, okay? Oh, wow. On this same exact day in 2020, our 7-day average was 40,000. 40,000 people were getting COVID. That's interesting. Kind of seems like there are significantly more new cases. Now, let's look at the death number. The 7-day average death number climbs back to 1,385 in comparison to the 1,000 that was back in September 5th, 2020. Now, let me tell you something, folks. There's one major difference.
Yeah, God.
Now, you might be thinking, what's going on, brother? 3 times the number of cases and yet the same level of death? That's interesting. I wonder if there's a separate factor here that is playing a role in stopping people from dying of COVID, despite the fact that, like, right now, this pandemic is ripping through this fucking country. So, yeah. We're cutting unemployment. We're cutting UI. It has not been effective in, like, getting people to go back to work. The eviction moratorium is ending. Except for places like California, by the way. Shouts out to Gavin Newsom. And New York, too. Friend of the show, Gavin Newsom. And that's what we got ahead of ourselves, too. That's what we are working with. Wonderful situation we're in, folks.
1 million people are set to lose federal unemployment benefits today as COVID safety net programs expire. This, as the latest job report reveals, the U.S. added just 235,000 jobs last month, and more than 42,000 cleaning service industry jobs were lost. Our next listener knows the struggle firsthand. Back in May, Jason Kramer, the owner of Dubach Drive-In, told us fighting for to fix the economy and pay people to stay home was backfired.
It's not simple. We give too many people too much money, free money to sit around and do nothing. It's backfired. I can't even succeed. I've got a third of my restaurant because I don't have enough employees. I would love to hire new people. There's nobody coming in the doors.
That man, Jason Kramer, joins us now with an update. Jason, so you were very vocal the last time we had you on the show. The question is, has anything changed?
No, actually got it.
I mean, yeah, he still has the same dog shit microphone, bro.
It got worse, and thanks for having me back. We struggled all summer long. And I feel bad for every restaurant owner, bar owner. It's just bad. You would think you try to hold them those shoes and say, well, what's the problem? You don't know what the problem was. I've got friends that have closing restaurants up this week, 8, 9 weeks ahead of schedule. for our season because it is a seasonal town. And don't get me wrong, we would love to stay year round. But when you have to close because you can't physically do the 8th position yourself or 9th position or more, where do you cut the losses at? They go, I'm sorry, what's that?
No, I feel the emotion. You put everything that you have in this business.
He's emotional because he's literally saying, like, I can't threaten them to come back to work. Please, government man. Please. This is why fascists align with the fucking liberal business owners, okay? This is why business owners ultimately always come on the side of fascists. You think these do not 100% without a doubt want the government to, if push came to shove, forcibly fucking make sure that these people work at gunpoint, you're out of your mind. Okay? These small business owners would love the government to just like forcibly fucking push them into work with direct threats of violence. Because what they're doing right now is trying to get the government to increase the dial of
Que foi?
a little bit. Okay?
Os gatos deito mal, estava a chatear os gatos.
The unemployment insurance, so that they don't have to increase the wages because they always know, like, listen, we can just wait this out. It's a war of attrition, baby. We can wait this out. The government with us, the business owners, rather than as always as they've historically done. So obviously, we can just like sit this out and cry and complain on TV. Ask the government man to stop giving so much money to the poor, so I don't have to fucking make competitive wages. Okay? Those very same people, 1,000%, I have no doubt in my mind, would be totally open to direct violence, or the direct threat, or the threat of direct violence by the government. Just like they are currently advocating, or rather agitating, for the indirect violence, the structural violence of poverty. That is what they are asking for. Every time you see a business owner who says, I am begging, nay, demanding the government to stop giving $300 extra in unemployment insurance, stop fucking, allowing people to live off welfare, they're basically saying, not basically, they're literally just saying, we want you to fucking starve so that you have no other option but to come back to work for us.
You open during the middle of the pandemic, and you lay it all out there.
One of my favorite parts about this, sorry, I'm pausing in, but one of my favorite parts about this is whenever business owners are like, I have to be washing the dishes and also flipping the burgers, and it's like, oh yeah? Wait, I'm sorry, is that like a shitty job? Do you now recognize that like your line cooks are providing a fuckload of value to your business? And as a matter of fact, that you would not be able to do anything without them? That's crazy, man. I didn't realize. I thought you took the risk, dude. I thought you assumed the risk, and that's why you deserve all of the fucking profits. But, as the old labor union motto goes, there is no value without labor. So when there's no labor, there's no value. There's no surplus value to exploit. There's no profit. Oh, man. Oh, man, oh, man.
You get a return on investment because the government is blocking.
And that's itchy. Here's the thing, people get mistaken because of what we stand for. You're advocating for giving people assistance that need it. This was way too much money for way too long. Now that our seats are ending for the entire cruise of New Jersey, people are just going to line up outside your door. I'm ready to work now. Hire me. No, I don't think so. That's not how it's going to work. The issue is the money that was given out.
Dude, I would never, no matter what my circumstances are, if my boss fucking went on Fox News and cried like this and showed the disdain that he has for workers in this hypothetical scenario where I'm living in fucking New Jersey and one of the only available job openings is the doo-wop drive-in, I'm never working for this guy. No shot, dude. Have some fucking, have some self-respect, have some decency, and be a little bit more humble. Like, you're fucking flipping the burgers yourself. You've already recognized that job is not easy. That's why you're fucking crying. Because never forget, You don't die when your business fails because you couldn't hire enough employees. Okay, you don't die. You don't go to prison when your business fails. You are relegated back to the working class, which you have so much disdain for. And that is the real fear. The fear of God in his eyes is, oh God, oh my God, I don't want to become a worker again. Because I know what bosses like myself do to workers, and I would rather fucking die and embarrass myself every fucking day in front of the camera and beg the government to like starve out the workers than to become a worker myself. That's a champagne socialist take. Yep, it's fucking true. I love champagne socialism, baby, all the way. I'm rich, motherfucker. Come in here, talk shit. Go ahead, yeah. Seriously, yeah. No, defend your fucking bosses in here in my chat. That seems smart. But I love that, dude. Yo, you gotta deep the factory, dude. Why are you fucking why are you defending the capital owners so hard, huh? If you come in here and defend your bosses, you need to show me the deep of the factory. Imagine being a capitalist without having capital, dude. The only boss that I'm defending is the boss at the top of the hour ad break. Oh. That's right. It is top of the fucking hour. And that means it's time for a second break, okay?
So, not to say home would be nothing. I couldn't get people to walk in the door to even explain that, listen, I'm willing to compromise and give you a living wage, give you a working wage, not just minimum wage, but I'm not going to be given the opportunity to help people get jobs. Now, what about the people that busted their butts all year long for every restaurant owner and every position that was available? They burnt the candle at both ends. My kids were so tired of working before they went back to school and took off for the season that they were exhausted. What about those people that actually stuck by everybody to get the big restaurants to work? And now that you have so many places closing up, what level of this and such a
He's like on the verge of tears.
what about those people that actually stuck by everybody to get the big restaurants to work? And now that you have so many places closing up, what level of this and such a this they did the math on sales tax and employment tax that the state missed out on because nothing was being served or you couldn't get food out. It actually it's just mind-boggling of why this couldn't get accomplished. And then talk about the inflation rate. I've got products that are 10 times the price that needs to be yet last year, the year before.
How is this guy on the verge of crying? What the fuck are your focus? I mean, do you not see him, dude? Also, I love that he's talking about the state not getting enough taxes and sales tax. Like, maybe that's a statewide problem, dude. Don't worry about it. You don't have to care about the coffers of the state. It doesn't seem like you give a shit anyway, okay? Especially when you're literally begging the state to stop this unemployment insurance nonsense so they can starve out the working class enough that like you don't have to increase their wages. We should interview the employees. First of all, employees that are still working there are probably not going to be open about it unless they're like literally about to quit their job. Secondly, it's Fox News. You think they give a fuck about the employees? New York Times barely cares about the fucking employees' perspective, dude. I've only seen a handful of fucking New York Times articles that actually cover the employees. You know what I mean? Like, Fox News is never going to do that. They don't exist. They only exist as B-roll in the eyes of Fox News. Or if they can find one like shitty bootlicker who will be like, oh my god, I love working here for, from a boss man.
How is that possible to increase products so far? We can't even touch it right now. I can't even get into minor things because it costs too much money. It's a trickle effect. And it's just dialed down to us so bad. But
hey man, it seems like he's made a bad investment. What happened? Like I thought people were allowed to make bad investments. The free market destroys your fucking bad investment. And then you learn from that lesson and you make a good investment next time. Like I don't understand it, dude.
only chef in the kitchen in the restaurant all year long. It just won't do it out. It is strictly not capitalism. I took the risk. I put my life on it.
Okay, and now you're asking for a fucking handout, dude.
I did everything else. I worked hard. But I was
And once again, I gotta repeat myself. It's not like you're gonna die. You're just gonna be a worker again, but you don't want that. That's fucking right. Hey, you took the risk. There you go. The risk is supposed to have rewards, which you have obviously benefited from plenty. But then there's also supposed to be the negative side of that. You take a risk. It's not a risk if the government babies you throughout the entire process.
where would you even share my wealth? The minimum that we were making with the employees. But I couldn't get people even in the door. How is that even?
One sandwich, please. Thank you for the 20 gifts. I shared my wealth with the employees. That's called giving them a wage so they can fucking continue producing for you, so that you can continue exploiting them by taking away their surplus labor value. That's what that fucking is, but that's kind of weird.
It's possible. You have any statistics saying how many wage people want a job? Where are they at? Where are they? Where are they? And it's not just me. I think out the internet, like, for a school, you have Peterson person. There are so many notes that all around the grocery stand. Kevin or Jerry's or short staff. We can't sit there right now. So this is sit back.
You are the voice of every single business owner.
Yeah, and he's right. But of course, not a good voice, okay? I'm sorry. Is there a single person that works a fucking 9 to 5 in here that works for a boss exactly like this one? That looks at this guy and goes, oh man, what about the fucking poor business owner? I'm sure you guys have parents that are like this dude. I'm sure. Like some of you probably have parents that are like this dude. That's why you can, they fund your neat lifestyle.
Landlord, you are speaking for the people of America.
Finally went through me. It is so bad that it is just absolutely, this administration is not doing that right.
I don't know, man. It seems like you're spending a lot of time on television whining like a little baby. Perhaps you should, I don't know, find your fucking bootstraps and pick yourself up by those bootstraps and get the fuck back to work. My employer should probably try to minimize layoffs and treat us like human beings. Everyone's so happy to work here. I wonder why. Well, the irony is like, in America, you don't really need to do this, but like the most effective way of like preventing unionization is literally by fucking offering such great workplace conditions to your workers unconditionally that like they never even feel like they need it, and they always need it regardless. They always need it regardless. But like, that's how you fucking stop people from wanting to unionize at all. That you don't make them feel like that anything is being stolen. I was laid out in the beginning of COVID-19 almost 1.5 years ago, although not due to budget cuts, but a reformation of the organization. I live in Sweden, and I'm a member of a union. I have additional insurance that I pay for about $35 a month. It helped me by paying 1.5K after taxes. And after 7 months, I found a job within my field, and that is well paid. So happy that I live in a Nordic country with our values.
Cool.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Well, the picture on your screen speaks for itself. Tell me again, we're not in the end times?
We're not in the end times. Cold, we're not in the end times. At least not in the biblical sense that you're thinking of.
Now, I know that this isn't real per se.
It's just not real. It's a promotional image for a new album
We already know this is really going to be occurring, and in some cases they claim it already has. But hey,
Are you talking about trans men getting pregnant? Because that's also a thing. Like, there have been pregnant trans men before.
everyone wants to be naive when they're seeing men giving birth. At some point, go ahead. I'm not going to lose my mind over it. I'm pretty much.
Spoilers, he is losing his mind over it.
Come to terms with the nonsense that's going to continue in this disgusting, disgraceful world. But what a wonderful world it is. The same guy who brought you Satan shoes with, human blood in them.
It was his blood. I find it interesting that he just said human blood, like Lil Nas X was going around and jabbing people with syringes and sucking up their blood against their will. Ah, these are for my shoes. No, it was Lil Nas X's blood. In fact, Tony Hawk did something similar recently. I think he did a limited edition skateboard line that had Tony Hawk blood on it or something.
The same guy who brought you Montero and he was grinding
Adding me work that time.
with with Satan. The same guy who brought you a prison music video recently, where we just
Who in their right mind could do a prison related thing with their music? The punchline is Johnny Cash. The punchline is Johnny Cash. Just so you know.
naked men, and of course, conveniently, this is the same guy who was introduced really to the world by performing at school in front of children and becoming famous and
I've still never heard Old Town Road. I guess he did that. Never heard it.
having all these kids like him because that's how it works. I've been saying it for years about Disney and Nickelodeon and all these places that, these people aren't just super talented and they just keep going and going. Oh, they can sing as kids. They get kids to like them as kids, and when they become adults, they start to change their behavior, like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Lindsay Lohan, Selena Gomez. The list goes on, and then they start to become perverse, and then they start to push certain agendas, right? And then,
The agenda that it's okay to be gay. That's just like reality, though. The lady that lives here thinks for 6 months says, 6 months? We need to start thinking of baby names. Keep up the good work. Love you, but not in that way. Unless, JK, unless. Google74, thanks for 11 months, is almost a year.
that's how they socially engineer the youth.
Parker Nell daughter says, I saw someone say Lil Nas looking pregnant was transphobic. What do you think about that? No. I, of course, don't speak for all trans people. I certainly don't speak for trans men, since I'm a trans woman, but I don't view that as transphobic. But whatever. I view that as so not transphobic that anyone calling it transphobic, literally makes me laugh. It was an honest laugh for me. That's a funny idea to me that someone would be that sensitive about it. Like, no, he's just doing a thing. Peter Brandon, thanks for 9 months and kicking off the hype train. Much appreciated. Again, it's Setember, so remember subs are 20% off if you choose to support the channel that way. That's 9 months, so that's a sub baby. We're gonna call this sub baby a call for a call for lube. Oh, okay, a call for lube. That's the name of this baby. A call for lube.
And that's exactly what this is, even though the people will go, oh, Carl's flipping out. This isn't me flipping out at all. This is me just showing you. I'm going to show you some other stuff connected.
This is me freaking out. Since source with 500 bits says type. Thank you.
To it. Such is the fact that, he's saying this is about some type of album. Oh,
The funny thing is, the only reason I know anything about Lil Nas X is because of people like Call. I I'm not a big rap person. Like, I don't have anything wrong with rap. Literally, the only rap I really listen to is like Eminem from back in the day. Um, like that's the only stuff that's on my playlist. Or Hamilton, but that's more because theater, not because rap. Also, that shit just slaps. But like, I know so much about Lil Nas X just because he annoys right wingers and conspiracy nuts. It's amazing. 22% to level 2 on the hype train.
But he's releasing his album.
MH Darky says, howdy, man. I hope you're doing well today. You see the next What If is Marvel Zombies. Going to be fun on the fun. Maybe. See, I like the Marvel Zombies comic. It's not necessarily well written. It's a little edgy. But, like, the visual and the art is just so beautiful and how disgusting it is. And there's no way they're going to match that on the show. So they have to write an actual good Marvel Zombie story. And I don't know if they're going to do that. So we'll see. Kirsten says, I actually highly recommend Lil Nas' music. It's a bop. I listened to the one where he's the one for the Satan music video where he pumps Satan and then he murders him. I didn't get into it. I don't know. Like, I'm sure it seemed well produced, but it's just not something I'm into. But I have no issue with it. Radiology says, call modern media is leading people to the devil. It would have happened it wouldn't have happened in the good old days. This is from 116 years ago, literally popping up in my sidebar. The Infernal Cave. This is music from 1905. Oh, not even music. I'm sorry. This is a movie from 1905, a silent film. Yeah, I've seen some stuff like this. Citisaur says he loves pushing buttons. I can respect it. Nope, I want to read it again, just in case. He loves pushing buttons. I can respect it, even if I don't really listen to that type of music. I don't listen to him, but I love seeing the reaction of chuds and conspiracy theorists every time something new comes out. Special effects indeed. This is when they were still doing coloring by hand as like a gimmick. Like, ooh, look, we have a color film. And they literally just like color the film.
His baby, right? That's it's a metaphor, yeah? Yeah, there's nothing disturbing here, ladies and gentlemen, who don't believe in the end times, or we're anywhere near.
It literally is marketing call. You're getting mad about marketing because you're paranoid. This is the paranoia.
Here. And what a coincidence, because this always happens at the same time. What's the big story that we
36% to level 2 with a minute and a half left.
just heard recently in Texas about these laws, right? And don't jump and do jumping jacks and think this is going to stand and be okay. This is just a little taste of something that will be reversed. And what stories come out with it? Stories like GoDaddy taking down the website for people who are activists against this thing occurring in Texas.
Yeah, fuck those people in the butt. Nick Nack Nonak, thank you for gifting us up. For those who don't know the website where you can go and report women in Texas for having abortions, GoDaddy or something like service.
Right?
Like 30 seconds left in the hype train. Don't let the hype die.
And what does it tell you? Because that's the story that comes out. And then other providers talking about how they're going to take down websites and they have the right to do it. I know, actually, it would happen to me. But first,
I don't think enough people know who you are for that to happen call. Maybe once I go on your website and get a bunch of information and get it together and then send it to the web host, then maybe. But I'm really lazy. So right now you're safe because of my lazy. Guy comment following says it's a metaphor for a work of art you're proud of called proud of called for a brain cell. Citisaurus, thanks for gifting a sub. Stone for Bell, thank you for gifting a sub. Purple Pondini, thank you for gifting 10 tier 1 subs to the community. Nick says, we're all hunger. We are all hungover from Sunday night.
you got to get through a lot of other.
Drink water. electrolytes, people. Get some Powerade or something.
Girls. So they'll get to me, they'll get to you, they'll get to everyone. And then the people out there who are clamoring for censorship are the same people that would support this guy being a man, even though, I mean, he's done a video telling us what pronouns he identifies as, right? What pronouns do you guys identify as?
This is the part where I realized Cole doesn't know what pronouns are because he thinks it's like it sounds like he thinks pronouns are a new thing that trans people invented. Beggar White says, wait, I've lost the plot. How does Lil Nas quote bearing unquote a child connect to abortion in Texas? I couldn't tell you. Woo! 121% level 5. Thanks, everyone. We have a streak of like every stream this month so far. We've hit level 5 on the hype train. I want to keep that going. Nick says, confirmed, feel like a plant and crave electrolytes. Bitter Grin, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs.
I identify as a giant hole.
It's the joke. He did the joke. And I also legitimately think he doesn't understand what pronouns are, because obviously Paul has pronouns and he goes by he, him. As far as I know, I guess. But
if this is even a topic or conversation, should tell you enough about the world. It should tell you more than enough about the world and the sensitivity, right? And what perfect timing while Big Brother rolls in all these new laws and new rules and new restrictions, and the same people clamoring for it. You know, it's going to be funny because they don't keep the warnings. They're arrogant. They're so dumb. I mean, and you know what people I'm talking about, the same people who would support this. Now, I just often remind myself of Revelation chapter 9, verse 6. In those days, men will seek death and will not find it. They will long to die, but death will escape them. Right?
it's called depressed. Does he want to die?
Revelation 9:5, the locusts were not given power to kill them, but only to torment them for 5 months, and the torment was like the sting of the scorpion. Right? And the Bible goes on to talk about the locusts look like horses prepared for battle. On that day, if I'm lucky enough to be on the field, on the battlefield,
Oh, this is the part where he says he wants to hurt and or kill trans people. Baby, thank you for 4 months as well. That first trimester just flies. 2 Man says people trying to collect bounties on abortions are having a bad time. Oh well then. We love stuff. Thanks for 14 months says, hell yeah, call us man at Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X isn't just a massive troll. Like Lil Nas X isn't just a massive troll.
well, these transhuman people who are, the key word is the word before human, who are begging and clamoring for all this stuff, are seeking it, they won't find it. And they didn't heed anyone's warnings. I'll have my foot personally on their chests, holding them down.
Ooh, hold me down, Daddy. Ooh.
If I'm lucky enough to be on that battlefield, I'll be holding them down with my foot, watching the scorpions sting. That'll feel pretty good, won't it?
This is like seriously what he spends his time doing apparently is fantasizing about a 10 plagues in Egypt situation in which all trans people, I guess, are on a battlefield for some reason, and Call is stepping on us. It's an interesting kink. It's very elaborate, but I wish him the best in finding peace with that kink. Steve Goblin says, all aboard the hype train, parade for Lil Nas X are patrons saying that we're trolling.
Now, another story that comes out of this is, whoa, it's Barry Obama. That's right, folks, you can't see.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about this part. Oh, I didn't turn on my lights. Unprofessional. Am I even a streamer without RGB? Stone Corbell says, how does he consider himself Christian saying shit like this? Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Having wrathful feelings is a sin, Call. Maybe you should do some introspection. No, it's fine, though, because he's allowed to hate the sinner situation.
Yeah, they mock us right in front of our face. Well, Barry decided to send a gift basket to him. Yes, Barry sent a gift basket to Lil Nas X. He sent him baby clothes ahead of the rapper's birth to Montero. Now, nobody's wondering.
If Obama legit sent Lil Nas X anything, that's hilarious.
How a musician who's not even really popular, let's just be real. Like, you know, the ones who like everyone knows in every household, like Beyonce, Madonna. Like, we all,
Let's listen to that again real quick and try and guess how old Call is.
the rapper's Coach Montero. Now, nobody knows Nas X. He said of baby clothes ahead of the rapper's Coach Montero. Now, nobody's wondering how a musician who's not even really popular, let's just be real.
Call thinks Lil Nas X isn't popular. Now, I'm only vaguely aware, but like to my understanding, Lil Nas X is like an up and coming huge rap star, right? Am I wrong? Were his last like 2 or 3 singles all number ones or close to it? Nick says I'm guessing he's 69. Nice.
Yeah. Like, the ones who like everyone knows in every house looks like Beyonce, Madonna, Lady Barfbag.
Call. Madonna hasn't been popular since like the 90s, which were 30 years ago, if we're talking about like 1991. At best, the 90s were 20 years ago. The Madonna album that came out after 9/11 was worse than 9/11. No one liked it. People care about Madonna in a historical context, or because they were fans. Madonna is not popular in 2021.
This guy is the new guy that they're pushing, and pushing at the perfect time because this guy's he's pushing the most revolting things you could possibly imagine.
Being gay, doing a photo shoot for publicity where you fake a pregnancy. We're doing pretty good at those worst things, honestly.
So the president, the former president, just happens to send him some baby clothes. He doesn't think to himself, well, this guy had a video where Satan was being lap danced by him. He just had a video where he was butt naked. He just had a picture of himself giving birth. There's nothing occultic here. There's nothing sick going on. This is just normal, and it's normal for the president, right? I mean, 20.
Oh, here comes the part where he also definitely doesn't know what year it is.
Sick going on. This is just normal, and it's normal for the president, right? I mean, 20 years ago, if you heard like, I don't know, Ronald Reagan, and I'm not supporting it because they're all the sick.
He thinks Ronald Reagan was the president 20 years ago. Ronald Reagan died in 2004, and he had done unwell in like the second term of his presidency. Call. Reagan was not president 20 years ago. He wasn't even a recent president 20 years ago, really. Like, if you want to go 20 years ago, you would think maybe Bush Sr. Maybe. In terms of, like, as far away from his presidency as Obama is from his now, right?
Okay, he's 60.
6 years later.
No.
What the fuck are you talking about, Call? Probably Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
I know W was president, but I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here and saying ex-president. Because Obama isn't currently the president. Obama ended his presidency, in 2016. Once Trump got sworn in. So I don't know what Call is thinking when he thinks he can say, what if 20 years ago Reagan had given, or yes, 2017, I'm sorry, January 2017. What year does he think it is? Weird. I missed some stuff. This guy kind of falls into the things that here. Don't ever introduce him to Lady Gaga or Elton John. He didn't mention Lady Gaga. He also Lady Barfbag because he's very original. Louis Love Stuff says Madonna embarrassed herself at Eurovision in 2019 and it was hilarious. Like, tried to talk down to 25 musical acts she'd never heard of and they outshined her. Victor White says, I mean, to be fair, every president since Ronald Reagan has just been a continuation of Reagan's presidency. Doomman642 says, and with the 10th and final plague, the Spirit of God will kill the firstborn, a male at birth of all of those who don't spread lamb's blood on their Rumble pages. Need for the guitar, thanks for 13 months since I never got a sub baby name. Can I get one now, please? Oh, whoa. Okay. Since you said oh, whoa. What's it called? Persona name generator. You're gonna come at me with an oh whoa? This baby's getting a fucking persona name. Black Liger Pale Feather.
Kazanmış.
Black Liger Pale Feather. I like that one.
They're all, other than Democrats, they're all in the same cesspool hole of being a satanic occultist. But anyway, I wouldn't hear a story like he was doing something like that. But it's everything is so out in the open now. It's just like, oh, the president.
20 years ago, Reagan was probably shitting in his pants while Nancy cried in the other room. I don't think he was in the state to be sending anything to anyone. Robert Morley, thanks for subscribing to Tier 3. Awesome. Thanks. 5 months too. Getting close to a stream, baby. Arianon says my cat died this morning. Oh, I'm sorry. After being attacked by a pit bull yesterday and feeling awful, luckily this thing comes with I'm so sorry. I really know. That's terrible. Was the person's like dog not on a leash or something? You don't have to recount it. I can be probate. I'm just sorry. That's it.
I didn't send him a gift back. Oh, and what? Fine. Can anyone explain how they know each other? Well, he's a singer. Oh, yeah. Well, let's talk about bloodlines and connections like that. Or is this a hint at something else between those lovebirds? Michael?
Oh, bloodlines? He's implying that Lil Nas X and Obama were related because first he implied they're related because they're both black, or at least Obama's half white, half black, so of course they must be related because Paul's racist. And his second implication is that they're gay lovers, which would be hilarious, but isn't true. Obama's like the only president during my lifetime where I actually thought he and his wife probably liked each other. Like, I disagree with Barack Obama on plenty of shit. I don't like him on the whole. I don't like him as a president. As a person, he's one of the more moral people we've had, and you're going to go, oh, drone strikes. Yeah, the bar's really low. But at the very least, I do think he actually gives a shit about his play. Princess Amelia, thanks for 9 months. Says, ooh, sub baby Hannah, you know what to do. Yep, I sure do. We're getting another persona name. Earthbang Wild Eyes. Two Man says, yes, 2001 when Reagan was president and the USSR was America's biggest enemy.
Well, we'll be happy if he hears that. No, he won't. Don't tell Michael. Don't tell Michael. Who's Michael? Come on. You gotta know who Michael is.
How he's doing the investigation thing.
Who knows who Michael is? Michael and Barry. Everyone's favorites. So, these are the stories that go on, and then they happen at the same time, right? He comes out with this, all the attention goes on that. Well, attention did go on the stuff in Texas. It's just done deliberately to get everybody's minds on this topic.
Jimmy didn't locally. I said it was in my lifetime. I was not alive when Jimmy Carter was president.
Because every day they have to have you thinking about these topics. Because these topics are the things that are going to remove freedoms. They're going to bring upon more sacrifice. They're going to bring upon more oppression of Christians.
Biden and his wife, I don't know anything about them, honestly, so I can't really speak there.
Because that's
their relationship specifically. I'm aware of Biden, obviously.
That's what this leads to. They might go, oh, this is nonsense. A man can't have. Well, is it nonsense that they aren't going to be able to?
Nick says, you want to remove LGBTQ plus freedoms, call fuck off.
Scientifically do. I mean, they already claim they have. I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but I did do a video once. I think it got taken down. You know, about 2 people who were reversed doing it, and nobody. I mean, well, you guys were probably puking on your whatever device you were watching it on. I know I was. But like the Bible says, we live in a world where evil is good and good is evil. And things like this are just, oh, it's just marketing call. It's no big deal. Let behavior continue to just degenerize and become more degenerate.
Generalize.
Generate.
Over and over. Morals just continue to go out the window. That's what these things do. And acceptance becomes reality. Oh, and then they start doing it, and people just be like, oh, okay. How do you think they start normalizing this type of stuff? Right? They just start normalizing it by doing things like this. And then people just go, oh, well, I don't know. At first, everybody's brain was going, wait, wow, man, they do that? That's what this did. And people went, oh, it's not real. It's a publicity stuff. Oh, okay.
Call the first, I didn't even, okay, in fairness, I don't know when the first trans man actually became pregnant. Long time ago. But, trans men getting pregnant is a real thing, and that's been a thing for quite a while. Even in the early 2000s, I remember a news story about that, because the straights are really weird, and oh my god, this person, oh my god, they present as male and they're pregnant. Oh my god, the world's collapsing around me. But that happens relatively often now, I think, trans men getting pregnant. It's already a thing called. It's already a thing. Lil Nas X did not invent the concept of someone presenting masculine and being pregnant. And his is fake anyway. His is like a prosthetic for an ad. The real thing exists and has existed for decades.
And then you do it again and again. And then
Guy Comic Fallen says he's a total call and he fell headfirst into his trap. Pepper White says, wait, quote, they unquote released Lil Nas X's album cover to distract from abortions in Texas, but in doing so, now, oh, that's a quick video. Blueguard says, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the first pregnant man. Junior.
You get some B-level actor or actress, if of course the trumpets don't sell by then, to do something like this, right? And then it becomes normal, and we continue.
Fun fact, Junior is a terrible movie, and it was directed by Ivan Reitman, who I believe also directed the Ghostbusters. And then his son, Jason Reitman, went on to direct a really good pregnant comedy, Juno, which starred Elliot Page. Is that what he's going by now? Elliot? Right? I'm correct, I think. So interesting stuff. And now Jason Reitman is doing the new Ghostbusters movie. Willie Love Stuff says we should introduce Call to Omegaverse. Oh, let's not. Ashy Boo, thanks for 10 months, says, woohoo, 10 months of Hannah. I see Call is as nuts as always, and Hannah is as pretty as always. Thank you. Although in fairness, that might not be a compliment. Maybe my baseline prettiness is very low, so I'm the same as usual. At least that's Overthought says, does the guy from Alien count as the first pregnant man? John Hurt? No. That's unfortunately not the case. Nick says, turns out all you need to make good pregnant comedy is to remove the I and the R. Wow. That's what thing is like, sorry.
Need to accept and
Andrew says your baseline prettiness is very
tolerate. Sin, mockery, all of it. The destruction of God's creation. And it just keeps pouring on and pouring on and pouring on. And of course, people like us will continue to get pressed, shut down, shut up, and locked up for having a difference of opinion. Because
Paul, you don't have a difference of opinion. You just hate people who are different than you. That's not a difference of opinion. You're just an asshole. That's like saying, all those Nazis, they just got destroyed in World War II because they had a difference of opinion. Paul, you would kill every trans person if you could. You literally just espoused your fantasy about torturing trans people and stepping on them while they're eaten by bugs. That's not a difference of opinion. You're Yo80 says, as a straight white man, do you know how offensive it is to see people that are very slightly different from me just living their lives and not actually bothering anyone? I should make a YouTube video about it because it's not been done before, right? No, I think you're in the clear. You could corner that market. The Colston says, Juno awakened my... okay, okay. The Colston says, quote, Juno awakened my breeding kink. Daddy soon, I probably.
Because that's how ridiculous this world is. But like I said, the same people who love this type of stuff, who then love to, who love to talk about people like me or you or conspiracy theories because there's nothing else to talk about because they can't look in the mirror at the sight that they see, which nobody can blame them. Those people are...
I'm literally looking at myself right now, Paul. When I film this, I'm looking at phone setup where I can see myself and your video. I'd rather look at myself in your video, if I'm being honest, but looking at myself doesn't get me money, so. Rublin says, since Cole's pop culture raps are dated, let me put it in a way he'll get. Madonna once said, I think crucifixes are sexy because there's a naked man on them. She said it to mess with the squares, much like Little Nas X. Doug White says, usually I can follow Paul's arguments as nonsensical as they usually are. Here, though, I don't even know how anything connects. He's getting more and more unhinged. I just think he's freaking out because COVID keeps going on, because people keep refusing to get vaccinated, but also his end time predictions aren't happening. So it's kind of showing that he's full of shit. I don't think he's taking it very well.
Okay, we'll feel a foot on their chest as they're stung by scorpions, by the locusts of torment. And then, when that happens, I'll finally have a smile on my face. How about that?
You can smile now, Paul. You don't have to wait, so you know. Hugh Goblin says, have you read Discworld, Monstrous Regiment? Does really interesting things with an AFAB character who lives as a man in the military but also carries a child. By the end of the book, he retires to resume his fatherly role. Terry Pratchett gets all overrolling. I've not read any Pratchett stuff.
I want to remind everybody again as this world continues to burn around us, check out my website at callfornuprising.com. Again, the forum itself, a lot of you trying to share links here on YouTube. You can't share links here on YouTube, they go right into spam. I don't go through my spam box, it's too filled. It's so much stuff goes in there. You say a bad word, it goes in there. I comment to certain people, and I don't even see my comments show up if I put a certain word in there. And it's ridiculous. Now, do we know that censorship, like I said earlier, is going to come to all websites, and that's really what you take out of this story? Yes, we do know. But right now, it's not. So check out the website while you can and interact with other people and learn what's going on. See what's going on. Share what you're seeing go on. I hope to see more people over there. I want to thank the Patreon because of you, keeps me here on YouTube. And I hope everybody out there is doing okay. I know mentally it's the same seeing a lot of this stuff. I know sometimes people are like, oh, well, you've been saying it here, so why is it bothering you? Well, it just is. I mean, you can say maybe it's those towers in the air, all the other stuff they're doing. Those towers aren't, yeah. Big towers. It's a lot of things, but it's also heartbreaking to see, and it's unfathomable, some of this stuff, to watch go on and be accepted. Because it's the uttermost, it's not even, I don't want to say blasphemous, but it's the most nauseating world you could possibly imagine, and it's only going to get worse. So I hope everybody out there stays strong.
He means 5G guys, so he's talking about the towers thing.
Being difficult for you, just take a break. I take breaks, take a break, or leave and don't come back. And just make sure you're right with
Take a break, run away with us for the summer, let's go upstate.
the Lord. Make sure you're strong in your walk, which is what I need to continue to do, because everybody gets pulled away sometimes, it gets worn out sometimes, so it's important, especially now, to stay strong. But thank you guys again for being here. God bless all of you and your families.
Paul's other channel got another strike, just so you know, and he's one strike away from getting his other channel banned. So that's fun. High grade, alrighty. So yeah, Paul's not doing well. He released 2 videos today already.
If you've ever had this food supplies for their students, oh, you're not growing food? Oh, right. They're just so full of crap with everything that they do and everything that they talk about. You ever?
I guess he thinks food shortage living in hurricane areas. Conspiracies? I don't know. I'm sure we'll catch back up with Paul tomorrow on Tinfoil Tuesday, but that's it for today. Let's look at Alex Q. This is someone who's come to my attention recently via a video I watched of someone else is covering him. And this gentleman, by the name of Alex Q, apparently he believes he's invented rings that make him immortal. I don't know how to put that in a different way. He believes he has invented rings that he wears that make him immortal and stops him from aging. So let's watch some of his videos and see what we can learn about his amazing invention.
Okay.
The title of this video is How Good I Look at Age 38 Because I Use Immortality Rings. And Giorgio